Hi and welcome to My Ordinary Life, the podcast which offers you a rare invitation to hear life from a different perspective. I'm your host, Gillian Allen, and each episode I'll be having conversations with some fascinating people who have one thing in common. They all have a learning disability. We'll be hearing about the joys, the challenges, and trying to answer the question, what part can I play in everyone having an ordinary life? Hi and welcome to My Ordinary Life. I'm your host, Gillian Allen, and I am so happy to introduce you to Paul James, who's our guest joining us today. Hi, Paul.
Hello there, hi.
It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
So, I know you've done lots of really interesting things in your life, but can we start with finding out maybe a little bit about your job?
So I work for the National Learning Disability and Autism Programme, which is part of NHS England.
And you seem like you're quite confident at being able to express things. Would you say that was true about yourself?
Yes, very. My confidence has grown, but I've always been passionate for change and to voice that to many people, really, you know.
And what's sort of driven that passion? What's made you so passionate?
I think is that when I was younger, I don't know if you would say mature enough would be the right word, but I wasn't aware of what was happening to me, if you like, what was things probably that I was at school and other things that these things might have not been quite right or done properly. So as I've got more aware of things not being done properly and certain things like laws and policies, that has really driven me when I've known about those policies and I've seen things unfortunately not done correctly with other people.
Do you think other people with learning disability might feel the same, that they've had similar experiences?
Yeah, definitely. It's about that person's understanding. And some things are not as didn't used to be anyway, but some of these policies and things weren't as well known to people.
Yeah. What's the best thing about the job?
I've always liked presenting. So I've always liked doing PowerPoint presentations, but I really like co-chairing meetings as well, chairing meetings and doing webinars.
But you're very good at expressing yourself, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think when I've been to some meetings before, they do really take it on board, most people that I talk to, and it's just when at times, because I'm there as the only person with lived experience, they do take that on board. It's been at times where I've had to really voice my opinion. Good in some ways that I'm the only person there sometimes with a learning disability, because I'm there at really good, as you say, at expressing myself.
Yeah.
You know.
You are often in meetings if you're the only person with a learning disability. How does that feel for you?
The job, the job all the time feels very inclusive.
Ah, great.
And when I'm the only person there, sometimes with a learning disability, depending what sort of mean it is, still feels very inclusive. And when I give my opinion, I come off the meeting, very a buzz. I feel like
Yeah.
like a real buzz, and sometimes it can get quite emotional because I just feel like I've done a really good job at getting my
Yeah.
point across.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I need to air views that might be not because I don't feel like they're not listening, but just to make them aware that certain things could be better if they do it certain ways.
Yeah.
So especially when I speak like that, I come off the call feeling I've really done a good job and
Yeah.
they've listened.
And that's not easy. That's speaking truth to power.
Yes.
It's not always
yeah.
easy. I mean, it's great that you have the job because, of course, services need to listen to people with lived experience. So I'm really intrigued. Your job sounds amazing. How did you get it? How did you get the job?
So I heard about the job on social media,
Right.
and when I heard about the job, I was like, right, this is the job for me. So I've always been changed for people with a learning disability, and I just saw the job and what it just included. I thought, oh, it's really what it said and what included about the role. I thought I'm really, really down my street, to be honest.
Yeah, something you can get fired up about.
Yes, yeah, felt a new challenge.
Yeah, fantastic. And had you had other jobs before the one you've got now?
Yes, so I worked for Durham County Council for 13 years.
Wow, what did you do in that job?
Yes, so it was formerly known as the People's Parliament in Durham. So I worked as a facilitator. It was only a small team, 3 of us with learning disabilities. We used to go around the county to speak to people with learning disabilities to see what the services are like, to see if public places as well in their area were accessible for people with learning disabilities as well. We used to get local MPs on board if we thought things weren't quite right in that people area, and we did a lot. We took part in the MenCap Stand By Me campaign, and that was get Durham Police to sign a pledge to say that they would be willing to and committed to be, speak and listen to people with a learning disability whenever needing to report a hate crime.
Wow, so that's a huge achievement.
That was a big achievement,
Yeah.
and I would say one of the best things in that job that I really enjoyed was the Fulfilling Lives event.
So what was that?
So it was like a market stall event where we would invite day centres, but public places as well. We kind of wanted to look outside of the day centre kind of thing as well, to just show what other things were available. So we were getting over 300 people at these events, and it was televised.
Wow, I was saying that's huge numbers. And was it for people to find out about the opportunities out there, things for them to do, places for them to go? Was it that sort of thing?
Yes, so it was places like that, and I was in charge of organising events. So actually invited a local dating agency. Fortunately, that wasn't received with the dating agency as I was wanting it to.
Oh, really? In what
Yeah,
way?
well, because when I said to them on the telephone who I was, and what the event was for, they directed me straight away to an agency just for people with a learning disability. And again, I got to that one of those moments where I felt like I had to be quite open,
Yeah.
but polite at the same time,
Yeah.
and just basically told them that that isn't the aim of the event. It's to look at more than just services for people with a disability.
Yeah. I think people don't always understand that. I mean, how did you explain to them?
I just said that I'm actually phoning up to speak to yourselves, and I wasn't actually wanting to speak to this company. I'm actually ringing up to speak to you. And they were like, oh, I know, but this service is more dedicated for, and I'm saying, but it's not. I'm asking for your service to come to an event. So it doesn't matter who it's for. It's a stallholders event to advertise your company. And over the phone, she was still very much really reluctant. And I just said, well, if you feel like that way, then I'm sorry. And it didn't turn into an argument, but I just said, if you don't believe in my way of thinking, then it's not really the place for you to come.
Well, yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, I've been there myself a day with very well, let's say a very well known TV program.
Oh, right.
That's contacted me through social media about 4 times in 2 years.
And is it a TV program that's a general dating one or a specific?
Yes, yeah. And I just had to, even though inside I was like, oh God, yet again, you keep sending me these emails. I had to be polite and just say, I don't really believe the name to start with.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that just because I have a learning disability, I should then be just directed to a local service or any service for a person with a learning disability. And I mean, some people have been like, oh, you should go on, it'd be great. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna go on and then just to just because I'm single, I might want to in one way, but I'm not just going to go on it just for the sake of, I'm still believing what I believe in,
And I have real respect for that, because you're saying if it doesn't fit with my values, I'm not going to do it. Even though the experience might be quite a nice experience, but So honestly, I really respect your stance on that, because you're saying, no, it doesn't fit with my values.
And
I'm going to say no.
As sad as it may sound, I, might be, single because of not going on that program, but I'm not just going to do that because I don't want to be single. I've got my beliefs in it.
Yeah.
It's actually made me a bit now, but
I completely understand. Do you think it is harder to find love or to find a relationship if you have a learning disability?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of times, sadly, families think that just because, you've got learning disability, you need to be home by a certain time. People with learning disabilities You know, I feel that families are like, you just because you have a learning disability, you can't have a relationship, you can't have sex, you can't drink alcohol. And I'm like, oh, God, you know, really basic human rights as well, actually.
Yeah. It's treating people like children, I
Yes,
think.
like, yeah, wrapping them up in cotton wool as well.
And as a mum, it is terrifying, you know. If my daughter's 17, I suppose what I tend to remind myself is there's always a risk with love, isn't there? You might get your heart broken, somebody might treat you badly. That's a risk to everybody.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I think a lot of people would possibly think, oh, you know, just because, a bit like that dating agency, actually, like, oh, that person has a learning disability, must go out with someone else with a learning disability. I'm thinking,
why?
What, you know, I don't mind if I was to go out with another person with a learning disability. Of course, I don't. It's just, why can't I then be seen to go out with someone without a learning disability? It shouldn't really be seen any difference.
No, I completely agree with you.
That's why, partly why I turned down, well, that offer, what they thought was fame, I suppose.
Yeah, well, yes.
Given, you know,
I know from looking sort of at the figures that for a lot of people who have a learning disability, getting any kind of a job is hard. So how did you get into work in the first place? Do you think it was more difficult for you, or what was the process there?
So you're right that the rates of percentages of people with a learning disability are very low. Finding a job and opportunities out there quite low. So it was actually my mum who found the job advertised in the local carers magazine. So that's how I found out about the job. And you're talking 13 years ago, so it was before social media really kicked off, you know.
And when you went to school and everything, did they prepare you for getting jobs? Do you feel like you had those same? No, you're shaking your head there, Paul.
No, it's, say, the opportunities I had at school were, so when I went to school and I was there from, because of what sort of school it was and what they offered at different ages, I was there from being 6-year-old to being 16.
Right.
And the options just weren't there. I was wanting to go to college with my other classmates, and school was very much like against it in one way, because they thought they didn't think I would be good enough, really, I suppose. They said going to their further education unit for 3 years will give me confidence. But it felt like they didn't have confidence in me. And that was pretty sad, because that was the only option, really, because they thought it was better. And even when I was at school, most of my classmates was going through the GCSEs, maths. I had to go in another class for one day when my classmates was taking that exam, because they said, you don't know well enough to take these GCSEs. And it was then, when I was about 15, I felt like that's when I started to notice things, when I was about 14, 15, that even other people with learning disabilities, I was different to other people with learning disabilities, not
Right.
just with people without a learning disability. So I left there to go to the further education unit. I wouldn't say that was good, really. I didn't feel really good in those 3 years. I felt like I was going back over, like, pretty
Right.
childish.
Yeah.
Just didn't feel, I felt like I wasn't, for further education, it didn't feel further education. It
Right.
just didn't, it almost felt like I was just there because there was nothing else available, to be honest.
What would you have liked then? Would you have wanted the opportunity to do your GCSEs or?
Would have liked that, to experience that, and I would have liked to experience college at 16. I went to a college course after I left the further education unit, but that option was only available because I was going to that college through the further education unit once a week.
Right.
So the options weren't there
Yeah.
for both leaving at 16 to leaving when I was 18, 19.
Yeah. And it sounds like actually there wasn't even much of a choice, or for you to say, no, I don't want that, I want this.
Yeah, no, there wasn't, no. And I mean, I'm 40 now, and even when I was 19, you didn't have all, like, the things that are out now to support it, to support that, to say, look, that isn't right,
Yeah. So do you think things have gotten better?
Yes, I'm hoping that education has changed, and yeah, I think with certain acts and policies that are out now, you have something really to fall back on,
Yeah.
to stand by.
And so you've had such a lot of different experiences. If you had something that you wanted the average person out there who doesn't have a disability to know about learning disability, or something that you feel like if they knew this, maybe people with learning disabilities would have more choices and more opportunities?
I mean, I think it's really good to just see a person, no matter what the beliefs or any background like that, as just anyone, just the same as everyone else. And when it comes to learning disabilities, that sometimes is that bit harder. And yeah, to just treat everyone the same as everyone else. I think there's a thing where there's too many stereotypes out there, where we think everyone with a learning disability, oh, not going to manage because the person I used to know with a learning disability couldn't, so this person isn't. We need to get away from that. And, especially like people that have certain conditions, like cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, if you're visually impaired. A lot of people think that the only options can be what you've just offered that person with the same condition, and same as the abilities,
Yeah. I think that's so important, and you're absolutely right. Just seeing people as an individual would make a difference.
Well, this is it. And yeah, it's definitely seeing people as an individual and thinking just because they have that condition, they're not going to have the same problems and issues as another person with that same condition.
And so I love the fact that you've taken your own life and what you've experienced, and it's made you passionate, and it's made you want change, and it's made you do all of this amazing stuff. What sort of keeps you going doing all of that?
So I do a lot of thinking on a night time. That could be a bad thing, you know, but do a lot of thinking on a night time, and when I feel about what the next day and what that might bring, and I think of like past things as well, mainly good things, and it's just the things that I've achieved that keeps me going and thinking, oh, I can't wait for this to happen, you know, and these people are going to be involved and they're going to hear me speak, and so it's that keeps me going, you know.
Brilliant, thank you. And as you know, I've said I'm the mum of 2 teenagers who have a learning disability. Do you have advice for them?
The only thing I can think of really is, if you see an opportunity and you want something, just, you know, if it might be going into a relationship or a job or going somewhere, if you feel like you might not be able to do it for whatever reason, speak to someone that you trust, speak to a close friend or family member about that, and be honest, and then just go for it, you know, just really go for what you want. Don't be scared. I mean, I know myself, things can be scary and frightening, but just go for it, because then you don't know what can come out of that.
I think that's great advice.
Thank you.
Really great advice, thank you. Do you know what, Paul? I could talk to you all day long.
Yeah.
This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming along and sharing your life with us.
Thank you. Thanks.
If you enjoyed this episode and are feeling very kind, please rate, review and subscribe, and be sure to tell your family and friends to have a listen too. And if you'd like to share your ordinary life with us, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on social media at Ordinary Life 66. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to catch up with you again soon.